Hey guys. So I spontaneously just put the camera up and I wanted to just ramble on a bit more. But this time I kind of like this topic. I'm just watching a video now by Michael Pierce about NI versus NE. Anyway, and it just popped in my head that if like I imagine myself in a scenario that I'm walking into his class. I imagine the class in which he shot a video that he made talk, t- talking about talking about Friedrich Nietzsche, and I imagine myself just walking in there and saying something to him and calling him out by his first name, Michael. But usually, I associate people with their names, um, and so when I think of a person, I see their name, their first name next to the person, next to their face, and so their face, like my impression of that person, is a combination, is a molding of their face, their personality, their my experiences with them, and their name, their history, and all of that. Just kind of combined together in some manner. That combination is my impression of them. That's what I experience when I think of them or see them. Usually that's the case. Now, when I imagine myself saying hi to Michael or talking to Michael, saying his first name, Michael, and if you ask me later in a completely different context what his name is, I won't be able to know. I'll have to spend a couple seconds just just diving back into my memory to see like to go through the process of remembering his channel and seeing his name, which is his channel name, and then like printing that out in my imagination, just kind of projecting the name of his channel into space, right? And then I see, okay, that's the first name, that's the second name. What does the first name say? It says Michael. Oh, that's his first name. His name is Michael. Instead of just remembering that his name is Michael. I don't have that direct association. I have a weird ass, ginormous map, and I just kind of navigate that map. I actually do, in my head, navigate it in real time if somebody asks me a question. Now, the amazing thing about that is that oftentimes, if I'm in a situation, let's say if I walk into Michael's class and, and I say something to him, I call him out by his first name, Michael. In the moment, I don't like I have zero awareness that his name is Michael. And if you ask me like 2 seconds later what his name is, it will take me a second to remember because like it happens so automatically. It's weird. I don't understand it. I can't put it into words, but it happens so automatically. Like I honestly don't remember most details about people. I just get like in my head. I just have their impression of their face and a bit of their behavioral tendencies and their place in my life. Like in my life, I have a bunch of slots. This person goes here, that person goes there, and my relationship to them, and so on. But it's just those very, I would say, relatively shallow bits of data on them that are relevant in my interaction with them in the moment. And I usually have like a deep understanding of their state of mind and the way their life is going right now. And I mean a very deep understanding of that. And that deep understanding is most like 99% of the data I have stored on that person in my memory. But things like their age, what they studied in college, their job, their names, if they're married or single, all of those things that usually people will talk about, I have zero conscious awareness of it. It's gonna take me a second to remember that. So oftentimes I go into a room, I have a conversation with someone, I say their names, but I never fully remember what name I said. It just comes out. but my conscious awareness is not on the name. It's not on that person's name. It's on the conversation, the conceptual and abstract conversation we're having. It's barely even like I barely have any awareness of the situation. I barely have any awareness of how the person receives what I'm saying, or how they're feeling, or what else is going on around me. It's weird because as I'm talking about this now, I'm thinking, what am I aware of? Honestly, like, what am I aware of actually? And I suppose it's mostly, well, me. My focus, my attention is directed inwards, which is causing a lot of my. It's preventing me from relaxing, which is one of the reasons why I'm stuttering and speaking in a kind of constricted manner. It's like there's tension in my physical body around this area here, and my mouth and throat. Anyway, it's like when I talk to people, that's where my attention is. But it's also a lot about the words I'm saying. It's about the conversation, the abstract conversation we're having. It's funny because again, most of the people in my life, if you ask me what their names are, I'll have a hard time remembering. If you ask me how old they are, I'll be surprised after I spend a second to remember, and I realize that guy's age is 27. Wow, really? I thought it was like 22. But I've always known him to be 27. But my impression of him is that of a younger individual. And so it's going to take me a second to recall that, wait a second, his age is actually 27. You know? Uh, and it's the same thing that goes for me. Every now and then I realize I'm actually 23 years old. Wow. It's not like I've gotten older. It's not that. It's more like that number is a third of the way to 30 from 20, you know? And I'm a third of the way there. I'm not just starting out my 20s. I've gone 30% of the way. That's not nothing. It's not just beginning. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing. I always have the impression of myself as I'm just starting out my 20s, just getting in there, like 20, 21 maybe. And so it takes me a second to think, wait a second, I'm 23. Or like this colleague of mine, he's 30, I think 29, 31, something like that. And it takes me a second to remember his age is actually 30. Wait, his age is actually 30. That guy is 30 years old. And it's the same thing with almost everyone in my life. In fact, actually, there's a lot of people in my life right now. I don't even know what their nationality is, where they're from. I don't know. I speak to them in English, and so like if we speak Arabic, I can tell from their dialect where they're from. If they're from Egypt or Syria or no, I can't tell if they're Iraq because they speak the same dialect as me. If they're from the UAE or Saudi Arabia, I know where they come from based on their dialect. But if we speak English all the time, which we do, I can't tell where they're from. I can't tell from their physical appearance, as sometimes they look sort of different from different places. So I can tell the Egyptians look kind of different than Kuwaitis, which look kind of different from Syrians and people from Lebanon and Lebanese people. And so, but I personally can't tell. Like, it's not that I don't know the difference between them. It's that I don't pay attention to that at all. Like zero attention, zero, zero conscious awareness of even what the person looks like, the color of their hair, whether they wear glasses or not, and whether they have a beard or not, and what kind of clothes they wear, if they're fat or not, if they're tall or not. Zero conscious awareness of all of those details, which is very interesting. It blows my mind how little conscious awareness I have of all of those details of a person, and yet I know them deeply because I think the way that I know them isn't their social identity. It's more like their subjective experience of reality. It's their subjective experience of life, and what that subjective experience of life is like from their perspective. that's the majority of the data I have in my memory on people. It's mostly focused on that, and some patterns of their face, such that if I see them, I recognize them. So like, if you give me a, um, a face, excuse me, I don't know how to pause the video. Sorry. If you give me a face, like an incomplete face, that's just the facial characteristics, like the eyes and eyebrows and shit, and the mouth and shit, but not the actual borders and boundaries of the face and not the hair. If you give me that, but it doesn't look exactly like the person, I can I can recognize that as looking familiar. But familiar, like who does it look like? I have no idea. I just recognize that this is a familiar face. I know nothing beyond that. It's weird. Like this is probably an extroverted intuition thing, but I can't tell what that implies beyond that. Um, yeah, it's just really interesting. Like even today, not today, sorry. In my recent time, the past few weeks, I've been exercising in the gym. If you ask me what kind of exercises I've been doing, I don't know. If you ask me what exercises I'll be doing tomorrow morning, I don't know. I go there and then like my intuition kicks in and I go into that other mode, the workout mode, and that guy takes over, does his thing, and then he exits it, and then I go back to my life outside of the gym. And as soon as that happens, it's like my experience is like I can't even remember that I was just at the gym. It's over, so it's like it doesn't exist in my memory anywhere. It's gone forever. And if you ask me any details about it, it'll take me a couple of seconds to recall what happened, which is kind of mentally exhausting. And recall it like I play back my life and I see what happened here, what happened there, and so on. I play it back, I play it forward, and so on, and then I can pause it, see what is going on right here, and I study that. It happens very quickly, but that is the process. I actually play back my life, or I play forward, uh, or I play forward from the beginning of the day. Um, but yeah, I don't have like a quick memory recollection. What I do remember quickly is certain particular traumatic or tragic experiences that the other person has had in the past. Like they tell me that once, and I never ever forget it. I can't recall when they told me, how they told me, why they told me. I just have a general impression of that general experience and how it has affected them. That's it. It's interesting because okay, so just recently I bought a big whiteboard and I put it here in my room. If after I go out tomorrow morning, I'll have completely no memory of this being here. Every time I come back home at night, I think, wow, I have a whiteboard every day. This happens every day for a while. Now that might be normal because it takes time for people to accommodate changes in a place like their bedroom or something. But this happens not just in this case, it's like all the time. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Hope I wasn't rambling too randomly. And good night, fellas.